Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. I recently learned that by law, you must turn your headlights on when it rains in Sweden. But how do they expect us to know when it's raining in Sweden? Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at my top 10 pleasant surprise moments in gaming history. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so these are my top 10 pleasant surprise games. What do I mean by pleasant surprise games? Well, these are games that were either sent to me by companies to review or games that friends gave me as gifts. But they're not games that I purchased. And they are all games that I really was not expecting much from, or in some cases, just really not even looking forward to playing at all. And I ended up loving the games. These are the kind of my low expectations and high payoff games. There were actually a lot of them, so I'm just going to tell you about some of the biggest ones here. A couple of honorable mentions. First of all, Lizard Wizard, which was a Forbidden Games title, which has anthropomorphic animals, not my favorite. But it actually ended up being a really fun and exciting game with a lot of depth to it, kind of a Euro, really enjoyed. And then also Minecrafter Builders and Biomes. This is, of course, based on the video game Minecraft, but you have this like block of smaller blocks that you're taking off to build your own little block thing. Anyway, it's was surprisingly fun. I really enjoyed it. That was from Ravensburger, Lizard Wizard Forbidden Games. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into my top 10 here. Number 10, this was a game that I played, maybe it was a year or two ago, from AEG. This was a game I took down to George and Holly's. I think we played another game that night, and then I was like, well, I've got this one. I'm not expecting much from it. Do you guys want to try it? And they looked at it, yeah, let's try it. And we set it up, and like within a couple of turns, I'm like, holy crap, this is actually really fun. This is Whirling Witchcraft from AEG. Whirling Witchcraft is your witches, and you're trying to put um, ingredients in your potions, but you're trying to manage the ingredients cubes from your ingredient pile, putting them in your potions, and then you're kind of moving your stuff around the board. And kind of what you do on your board is going to affect what happens to the people, to the person I think to your right, and then what the person on your left is doing affects you. And it was really a lot of fun. We got a huge kick out of Whirling Witchcraft. Again, the theme, witches, take it or leave it. But the way it was handled here, and it's kind of cartoony witches too, so I was like, all right. But the way it was handled here was just so surprisingly fun and interesting, and there was some real competition. I think we played it a couple of times that night and fell in love with it. In fact, I liked it a lot. I really did. George, who I played it with, I think he liked it quite a bit more. I actually ended up giving it to George because he was just in love with it. But Whirling Witchcraft is a fantastic game that is from AEG, and that is my number 10. My number 9 is a game from Columbia Games, but surprise, it's not a block war game. In fact, I think this might be their only board game that is not a block war game. I think they do RPG, but I think this is the only board game that's not a block war game. I could be wrong, but I think it is. It was a game that I thought the aesthetic really didn't look that great. It doesn't look like a good game, and yet when we played it, it blew me away. This is The Last Spike. The Last Spike is a railroad game in which you've kind of got like a diamond of the railroads that are kind of crossing the country, and you've got tiles and you're trying to complete the railroads using tiles that you've got, but you're investing in tiles, you're investing in companies, and you're trying to score the different cities that the tiles are touching. And it's, again, surprisingly fun. It's a pretty simple mechanism, and yet it is, again, real competition. I remember the first time I played it, I think I was playing it with Eric and Clarissa, and we were all just big old grins on our faces. We really ended up enjoying this one quite a bit. I've got it on my shelf. I haven't played it in a while, and I need to because it's super, super fun. Again, a pleasant surprise from Columbia Games. So that is The Last Spike, number 9 from Columbia Games. My number 8 is probably one of the most popular games of the last, 5 years. Really one of the most popular games that's been out there. People freaking love this game. I had no desire to play it. The theme just did not appeal to me at all. And yet, when the company actually reached out, said, "Hey, we got extra copies. Would you like to review it?" And it was so popular, I thought, well, you know what? Maybe I should see what all the fuss is about. I got it. was not expecting much, and it blew me and my friends away. This is Wingspan from Stonemaier Games. Of course, I mean, I don't even need to go into this one. Everybody knows about this game. But you've got, it comes with its own kind of dice tower. You're selecting actions. You've got the eggs that you're trying to that you use in the game. Um, it again, the aesthetically, the idea of birds just did not thrill me. But it's such a good immersive game, and it's a good Euro. It's a lot of fun competition and fun actions throughout the game. We really enjoyed Wingspan. That is why it is my number 8 again from Stonemaier Games. And my number 7 is a game. Generally speaking, I'm not a fan. No, generally speaking, I'm not a fan of silly games. Games that try to be funny. I like the fun to come from the gameplay. I don't like fun from what's written on a card or I don't like that. I like games that I laugh because the game makes you laugh, not because the game is telling you to laugh. And this was a game that was just had silly written all over it, and I was not buying it. I saw the box. WizKids actually sent it to me, and I'm like, yeah, I just don't think this is one I'm interested in. But I took a bunch of games one night to game night, and we actually were waiting, I think, for a fourth, and so three of us said, well, we got this. Let's just play around. It looks like it's pretty quick. Let's play a round of this. We played a round, and then we played another round, and then we played another round. I think the other person got there, and we played another, and then we played it again another night, and it's just one of these games that just out of nowhere is so much fun. And part of the game is you are laughing. You can't help but laugh at the game because it is so silly, and yet it's some really good competition here. This is OP Arena. And in OP Arena, you have essentially it's a dice rolling game. It's a dice rolling, dice manipulation game. But you have all these different cards. And again, the cards are very silly. You've got, sharks with lasers, and you've got, I think it's like creepy uncle, and just all these different categories, and then monsters and science fiction stuff, and all these different categories of people. But you essentially, I think you put the card out in front of you, and it gives you different options for your dice and what you roll. But you're essentially attacking, and you're deciding who else you're going to attack and knock them down, and then they're trying to knock you down. And you can decide how many points you're playing to, so you can do a shorter or a longer game. But if you're knocked out with one character, you can just put another character, plug another character right in there. Sometimes you can play with multiple characters too. It's really, really fun. Like I say, part of it is that the game is so silly, legitimately silly, and makes me laugh. And part of it is just the comedy that comes from it being so mean. And I love mean games. And you're constantly attacking other people. That's how you win the game, is by attacking people. So you're trying to get past their barricades and whatnot, and trying to deal them damage. And they're trying to mitigate that. It's a great game. Unfortunately, it is no longer in print. I think the designer and WizKids parted ways a while ago. I hope we see this back. I hope it does get a reprint somewhere, because it is so much fun. It is so silly. It really deserves some love. So that is OP Arena. That is my number 7. That is from WizKids. My number 6 is a war game, and it's kind of I don't want to say it's a super heavy war game, but there is a massive learning curve. And when I received this game and I saw the amount of reading for this game, I was like, yeah, I didn't even want to touch it. I was thinking, it's just too much. I don't want to put in the time to learn it. But then I heard a lot of people talking about, okay, but there's these like small scenarios, 2 tutorial scenarios that you can play solitaire that really teach you the game well. So I'm like, okay, I'll play through some of the tutorial scenarios. So I ended up playing through all the tutorial scenarios, and each one introduces like new concepts. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, that works like that. Okay, yeah, that works like that. Yeah, yeah. And then I started playing it with some friends, 2 players with some friends, and it is just a great game. And this is Atlantic Chase from GMT. This is a great game. It's about the surface naval battle early in World War II between Germany and Britain, which is not a topic that you see covered a lot. And it is great. It is so much fun. It's a great game it's very different because it's not like a hex and counter game per se, although there are hexes and counters. It's a game of, if you are moving from one port to another port, you essentially create a trajectory, right? The path along where your ship is going. And then it is up to the opposing player to try to hunt you down and try to find you and where you are along that path. And there's different ways they're trying to do this. And if they can find you, and then you can have these battles, you got a little section of the board to do battles. You can like close in or get further away. But it presents some very interesting puzzles here. And I would really, one thing I hope is that they actually make a Pacific version of this game with more like kind of carrier engagement and stuff. I think that would be freaking awesome. But as it is, Atlantic Chase is a heck of a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. That is Atlantic Chase. That is my number 6, and that is from GMT. My number 5 is a game that I played earlier this year, and it ended up, let's see, where did it end up? It ended up on as number 17 on my top 10 games of 2023. But I first got it. The company reached out to me. They said, "Do you want to review it?" And I was thinking, okay, yeah, I'll take a look at it. And I looked at it, and it's a game about aviation, and so I'm always kind of interested in that. I used to fly a little. I have people in my family who flew, and so I was kind of interested on that level. But I really looking at the mechanics and stuff. I'm thinking, I just don't think this is going to be any good. Ray came over and we played it, and it was one of those games. As I'm playing it, my jaw is on the table. It's so good. This is First in Flight from Artana. And in First in Flight, essentially, it's you've got a rondelle system, but it's also a push your luck system. It's also a deck builder system. I love it because you're going to the different spaces. You're kind of like improving the design of your aircraft. You're gaining money. You're getting the opportunity to buy these kind of other cards that will help you in your flights. But then you go to those flight spaces, and what you do on the flight spaces is you're essentially laying down cards that show you how far you're going to go. And then if you get 4 like structural flaw you crash, and then there's penalties and stuff. So you want to go ahead and make sure you are not going to crash. Easier said than done, because as soon as you play your descent card, meaning you're coming in for a landing, you still have to play 2 more cards, and those crash cards can come at that point. So it's very scary in that sense. And much of the game is trying to avoid crashing and trying to optimize your hand and get these longer cards, because essentially it's a race. You're trying to get your plane to the finish line first, like 40 points first. But you can fly like, 10 spaces. But your next one, you start at 0, and you have to keep pushing your luck to go past 10. And then you have to keep pushing your luck to go past whatever you made the next time and the next time. And so it's not like you go to 10 and then you go from 10. It's you start at 0 every time, and you have to pass your previous record. It is phenomenal. I freaking love First in Flight. This is one of the best push your luck games I have ever played. So that is number 5. That is First in Flight, and that is from Artana. My number 4 is another game I played when I was down in Texas. And this is a game that, again, I saw they sent me the game board and the game box, and I was looking at it, and I'm like, the theme didn't thrill me. It's kind of, again, a nature theme. And I'm thinking, this just doesn't tickle my tuchus. And I was not looking forward to it, but I took it one night, the game night. I said, "You guys want to play this?" I'm like, yeah. So we started playing it. And again, within minutes, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is fun. This is Ecos, the First Continent. This is essentially bingo. You have one person essentially is drawing these wooden tokens and calling them out, and then people are filling out these cards. And if they fill out the cards, then they get certain advantages and things they can do. Namely, they are literally building a continent. You're putting tiles out there, you're putting mountains and flora and fauna on there. It's just really a lot of fun. And as much as I liked the base game, about a year or so later, they came out with an expansion, which makes it even better, because now you're chasing these like goals to create certain kind of geographic formations and claim those goals. And I love it. Fantastic game. Like I say, a very simple mechanism with bingo here, but it gives you a big bite. There's a lot of depth here to this game, and it's amazing. It's one of those games that has no right to be as fun as it is. So that is Ecos, the First Continent. That is number 4, and that is from AEG. So number 3 is a game that was the first deck building game I played that I liked. In fact, I loved. I had played, I was at part of the Board Game Designers Guild of Utah, and somebody had brought a deck building game, and I didn't understand it. It never played one before. I didn't understand the concept. And he kept saying to me, "Oh, it's just like Dominion. It's just like Dominion." And I kept saying, "I haven't played Dominion. I haven't played Dominion." This was, 2012 or so. And he kept saying, well, it's just like Dominion. He kept saying that over and over. I'm like, I have not played Dominion. So I didn't get the concept, and it didn't thrill me. I wasn't happy about it. And then I had played another company had sent me a deck builder that again it didn't click. The concepts just didn't click. It didn't work for me. And then I contacted Cryptozoic Information Entertainment, Cryptozoic Entertainment about a Batman game. I can't remember what it was. Escape from Arkham City. I asked them if they had a copy of that, and they said, "Oh yeah, and we will also send you a copy of the DC Comics deck building game." I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't like deck building games. But anyway, one night I thought, you know what, I'm going to try it. So I took it to game night with some friends. There were 5 of us. We're at a game store. We start playing it, and immediately we're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, this is so cool. We're getting power, and you can buy these more powerful cards, put them in your deck. You draw the cards, you play them, you can attack each other. It was great. It was phenomenal. Admittedly, not the most thematic game because you're all playing heroes, but you attack each other. But man alive, it was fun and engaging. And I liked the DC Comics so much that last year I went all in on the big box with all the stuff in it, right? Virtually all the stuff, most of the stuff. And I've got it. I love this game. I love all the other versions of it that have come out, some more than others. But it's just a phenomenal game. It is really a phenomenal game. I love the DC Comics deck building game. Um, Again, in my heart, it's the game that made me fall in love with deck builders. And I played so many deck builders since, but there's always a special place in my heart for DC. And I freaking love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So that is the DC Comics deck building game. That is my number 3, and that is from Cryptozoic Entertainment. My number 2 is a game. I had a contact at Fantasy Flight / Asmodee years ago, uh, who I got along really well with. She was from Salt Lake, like me, and we got along well. And she was always sending me stuff. And one time she was gonna send me some games, and she said, "Oh, and I've got this game. It's got kind of a higher player count. I'm gonna send it to you. Try to get it played. If you can." She's really kind. No pressure, but she kind of wanted to know what I thought about it because we shared some taste. So she goes ahead and she sends me the game, and I'm seeing this game, and the way the rules read, you kind of need 8 players. I'm like, 8 players? That's a lot to deliver. But I rounded up 8 players, not expecting much, really just to kind of get back to my contact there and let her know what I thought. And my friends and I fell in love with Captain Sonar. Captain Sonar is one of my top 5 games of all time. It is probably the best game I've ever played with a high player count like this. It is fun. Of course, it's a real-time battleship is essentially what you're playing. There's 4 crew members on each side. You've got a captain, you've got a first officer, you've got an engineer, and you've got a radio operator, sonar operator, and you're tracking each other down. You're firing weapons at each other. You are, you can use special tools to try to locate each other in the water. You occasionally have to surface to kind of repair your systems. It's just so good. I freaking love this game. It's the first time we played it, we sat down and, instantaneously we were just sucked in to this game. We just had so much fun with it. And there's that moment. I love playing the captain. That's my favorite role. And there's that moment where you ask your guys, "Do we have weapons? Yeah. Are we good on the location of the enemy? Yeah. Okay. Fire at this location." And you do, and you hit, and it is magic. This is one of the best games I've ever played with that. I remember I was at SaltCon a few years ago, and Zach was there with us, and some people wanted to play Captain Sonar. They hadn't played it. Zach, I was busy filming stuff, but Zach said, "Hey, Cody, I'll catch up with you." And he sat down and he taught all these guys how to play Captain Sonar, and he was just having a blast. It's one of Zach's favorite games, and I don't blame him. It is so freaking good. Captain Sonar, one of the best games I've ever played. Only downside is you need those 8 players, but what a pleasant surprise. This is number 2, Captain Sonar, and that is from Madagot. Okay, my number 1 pleasant surprise game of all time. Again, if you've watched the show a lot, you kind of know my history. You probably can guess what this one is. This was a game that actually a friend gave me as a gift because we liked the TV show. Now, until I played this game, the vast majority of board games I played were some kind of war game based on military history. And this, I think, was the first game I played and I really got excited about that had nothing to do with war or military history. In fact, I credit this game with kind of helping me to take the step into the wider world of tabletop gaming from kind of the smaller world of wargaming. I love wargaming, don't get me wrong, but there's a bigger world out there. My number one game is Battlestar Galactica. Now, Battlestar Galactica, the board game, like I say, this was a game we didn't know really what to expect from it. I had never played a hidden traitor game before. And this is a game where, of course, you're on the Battlestar Galactica, just like in the TV show, and there are Cylons among you, but you don't know who the Cylons are. So there's hidden traitors, maybe one, maybe more. And as you're playing the game, you're all working together to save the ship, but that Cylon or Cylons can secretly sabotage what you're trying to do. And we were laughing and we were just throwing accusations at people. And every game of this I play is just filled with accusations and anger. It is so much fun. It is a riot. Gosh, if you haven't played Battlestar Galactica, try to find a copy. I know it's a lot expensive, but if you can, maybe if you're at a convention or something, or find someone that has it, play it. It's so good. Now, I should point out, too, Fantasy Flight Games a couple years ago came out with Unfathomable, which is essentially a reskin. It's the same game, but set in kind of a Cthulhu universe. And frankly, in a lot of ways, Unfathomable is a better game. It's more streamlined than Battlestar Galactica, but I love the Battlestar Galactica theme. And when I played Unfathomable, I knew it was going to be good. I knew I was going to like it. But Battlestar, I really, like I say, when my friend gave that to me, I'm like, okay, I'll play it with him once to show him that I played it, but it's not going to be very good. How could it be good if it's not about war, right? And I played that game, and like I say, blew us away. I loved Battlestar Galactica. I love Battlestar Galactica, the board game. My number 3 game of all time, really, really good stuff. That is Battlestar Galactica. That is my number 1 pleasant surprise game of all time, and that is my number 1. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is my list. What were some of your favorite pleasant surprise games? I'm very interested to know. I'm always interested to hear from people what they think. What do you think of my list? What about these games? Do you enjoy these games? Do you not enjoy these games? I'd be interested to hear, again, what you think. As always, please leave a comment here on YouTube, Board Game Geek, Facebook page, on Twitter, and always, subscribe to the channel, like us, follow us, etc., etc., etc. Also, too, I'd ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about military history and books on history, and I post some of my lectures up there. I'd ask you to please go ahead and subscribe to that channel. That would mean a lot to me. Please leave a thumb to this video on Board Game Geek, and I would ask you to please humbly, if you like the channel, if you like the stuff we provide here, please click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. We really appreciate it. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I used to be addicted to the hokey pokey, but I turned myself around.
Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band. God knows that I love to fight, but I don't ever win. It's a fine line to damnation, but God let me in.
Some cards will
say before a roll happens, you can play this card to add +2 to the roll. Like that one.
Damn it.